Welcome to SWAKMPS. Thank you for joining today. Hope you all are doing well. Before starting, I would request all to please like, share, comment and especially subscribe my channel for more videos. That means a lot. Press bell icon to get notification of our videos. Don't miss any videos. So here we explore today topic in detail. 13 reasons why season 4 binge recap. After 4 seasons, 13 reasons why has come to an end. Read on for our recaps of each episode from the final season to see how it all ends. The highly anticipated 4th series of Netflix's teen drama is here, and if the 13 Reasons Why Season 4 trailer is anything to go by, the show's final outing will be an intense one. Although popular, the program has proved controversial during its run, having sparked outrage after showing a graphic suicide scene and explicit sexual assaults. The suicide scene has since been digitally removed, and cast members have filmed a warning for younger viewers before the start of the show's first series, but 13 Reasons Why has still attracted criticism since it began in 2016. When we last saw the 13 Reasons Why cast, Clay and the Liberty High gang, they had uncovered the truth about Bryce Walker's murder and decided to cover for their friend who killed the serial assaulter. Will Winston reveal Monty's innocence? And will he be able to work out who actually murdered Bryce? Will Clay be able to mentally withstand the guilt and pressure? Keep watching our 13 Reasons Why recap for a refresher on episode 1 to 3. We will give all information on the episodes. Episode 1, Winter Break. We pick things up with our friends at the ironically named Liberty High just a couple of months after the events of last season. But first, we jump forward in time 6 months to yet another funeral. With this show, we're sure you're not surprised. We don't know whose funeral it is at this point, but we know it's a classmate. Settle into the sound of Clay's voice because it's here to stay as a voiceover for the full season as he explains things to his therapist. Anyway, back to 6 months earlier. It's the holiday season and the neighborhood is all lit up and pretty, but Clay is in a dark place. He's having nightmares that Monty is still alive and pissed he's been set up for murder. Remember last season when Alex killed Bryce and the gang got together to frame Monty for it since he was going to prison anyway for sexually assaulting Tyler? That was a loaded sentence. Clay thinks he's hiding his anguish from his parents, but they definitely know something's up. You gotta feel for those parents. Their concerned probing is put on hold when Tyler calls Clay. He's been asked to go in and talk to the sheriff. Clay drives Tyler there and waits outside while he goes in. When Ty returns, he tells Clay they found the bag of guns he disposed of, but they couldn't trace the guns to him, only the bag they were in. Tyler told the sheriff he did indeed buy that bag, but it was stolen from him. Wildly, he thinks the cops bought it and adds that Alex's dad was there to help him out. Remember, Alex's dad knows the truth about Bryce's death. It sure seems like Tyler might not be telling Clay everything, and Clay seems to suspect it. Later, Clay relays his suspicions to Ani, while the gang all gathers to welcome Justin home from rehab. It's a bit of an awkward gathering. Zach, who's clearly not coping well with the events of last season, he practically beat Bryce to death, pre-gamed the dry party. At least Charlie is there with homemade cookies, a recurring occurrence this season. Clay and Ani share their worries about Tyler's meeting with the sheriff with the rest of the group. Once everyone leaves, Jess tries to rekindle things romantically with Justin, but he tells her he can't be in a relationship right now. She's heartbroken. When Christmas morning rolls around, Clay and Justin both receive an already loaded with apps iPhone from the former's parents. Over at Jess' place, she invites Ani to move in with her so she doesn't have to leave town with her mom. After they convince Annie's mom that they'll stick to an early curfew, the new roomies go out to the woods to burn the tape of Bryce's last words. While they're doing so, Jess hallucinates Bryce watching, smirking at her. He's just as creepy as a figment of imagination. Once winter break is over, the kids return to school to find a bunch of new security measures have been installed, including a metal detector at the entrance. Clay worries it's linked to the cops talking to Tyler about the guns, while Jess refuses to let the male guard pat her down. Principal Bullen calls her into his office, but instead of reprimanding her, he asks for her help, informing him on anything she's worried about at the school. Sure, this will end well. It's time for future fair. Clay is less than enthused since he's of the opinion there is no future. That's classic season 4 Clay, honestly. While Zach considers enlisting and Tony tries to act like he has no interest in college, a new student shows up who just happens to be Monty's ex, Winston. Not sure we can call him his ex, but they did hook up after Monty beat the S out of him. Winston and Tyler get chatty about cameras and Ani comes to interrupt, demanding Winston explain why he's there. Basically, he got kicked out of Hillcrest, but he's also definitely here to do some digging into who really killed Bryce since he knows it wasn't Monty, having been with him at the time of death. Ani and Clay know Winston is Monty's alibi, but the rest of the group don't. We also meet Estella, Monty's sister, at the future fair. She asks Jess if she can join HO, aka Hands Off, the female-led support group Jess started. Just then, the football team all show up wearing the La Cruz jerseys as a tribute to Monty. They really try and force Estella to put one on too, but Cookies, aka Charlie, sticks up for her. Clay, who's been watching them, imagines that Monty's there too and storms over, demanding they take their jerseys off and stop honoring a rapist. The team accuses Clay of being the real criminal since they don't believe Monty killed Bryce and a fight ensues. Not for the last time this season, Clay gets the ass kicked out of him. After school, Zach and Alex blow off steam together, walking along the edge of the building. These kids. When Alex nearly falls over the side, Zach catches him. As they recover, Alex kisses Zach then apologizes when Zach doesn't reciprocate. Zach tells him he isn't into guys, but is cool about it. Looks like we've got a new storyline to explore for Alex. Through the premiere, and season to come, Clay's mental state goes from bad to worse. He's losing time, constantly confused and seeing things that aren't there. When he wakes up in bed, Justin tells him he has been talking and screaming in his sleep all night. At one point he thinks he hears Bryce's tape playing from nowhere and then sees Bryce and Monty outside his house. Thankfully, he's seeing his therapist. Clay explains he needs to control himself, because if he doesn't, people might get hurt but he doesn't know who he can trust. His therapist tells him his body is creating physical stimuli to force his mind to pay attention to what's really going on within him and asks Clay if he's ready to pay attention. Clay says he is. Ruth Ganane. Episode 2, College Tour. Once again we start things off at the funeral for the mystery student. 6 months earlier, Clay is filling out college applications. Only he's not really doing it because he thinks it's bulls. He's missed most of the deadlines. He sits at his computer at 3 a.m., when suddenly an incoming FaceTime call from Monty's number flashes on his screen. Panicked, Clay rejects the call and blocks the caller. The phantom calls are doing nothing to help his ever-growing paranoia. He's barely sleeping and losing more and more time. When they get to school that morning, someone's graffitied Monty was framed on the walls. No one knows who did it and our group of murder cover-uppers worries someone knows their secret. Well, all of them are concerned, except Zach who thinks it's kinda funny. Yeah, he's pretty messed up. When Clay gets to his locker, someone has spray painted a smile on the inside of it, leading him to believe he's being framed. Ani thinks it's Winston, who's just quietly eavesdropping and gathering intel on them all, but cracks are forming in the group as they all start to suspect each other. Later, one of the police officers at the school stops Tony and searches his bag. The cop gets rough with him and points out the red paint on his hands. Tony explains he was working in his shop the night before and the cop makes a comment about him being a fighter and lets him go. Everyone gets on a bus to head out to tour the nearby college campus where Clay's dad works. On the bus, a can of spray paint rolls to Clay's feet but no one sees where it came from. He scrambles to hide it in his backpack, hoping he can discard it without anyone seeing once they arrive on campus. On campus, the students are split into two groups. Clay's growing suspicious of how close Tyler and Winston are getting. He's not wrong about their new bond. Tyler just opened up to Winston in the dark room, telling him he doesn't hate Monty anymore, he just feels sad for him. Clay can't do much about it when they're split into groups, so asks Tyler to keep an eye on him. In return, Tyler asks Clay to look out for Zach. And, naturally, everything goes wrong. In his attempt to keep his word to Tyler, Clay follows Zach to a frat party, when new party boy, Zach, decides to blow off the tour. They promptly get wasted and Clay encounters a drunk girl on the stairs. Her boyfriend soon shows up to put her to bed and, suspicious, because of all the terrible previous examples he witnessed, Clay follows them upstairs and finds himself alone in the girl's room with her passed out on the bed. He then imagines Bryce is there and about to rape her, encouraging Clay to do the same. Just then the boyfriend walks in and accuses Clay of trying something. Clay runs off, but the frat guys hold him and he starts to panic, screaming for them to let him go. In the end, they call security on both Clay and Zach, and when Clay's dad shows up, he's pissed. Clay also missed a meeting with the dean his dad had arranged. Later, Clay admits to his therapist that he was aroused and didn't even realize it when he followed the girl into the room. It freaked him out. While all that was going on, Alex lost track of Tyler but had a lovely time bonding with Winston and even opened up about his suicide attempt. When Winston tries to take Alex's hand though, Alex tells him he is not gay, but later when he and Tony are at the gym, Alex asks Tony a lot of questions about when and how he knew he was gay. We wrap up another episode with a Clay check-in. The poor kid continues to spiral. He finds another can of spray paint in his bag with no idea of how it got there. He's more suspicious than ever, and when he encounters his parents meeting with the sheriff, apparently about school safety, he grows even more worried and has a panic attack. Honestly, it's stressful just to watch. When he returns to writing his college essay, text saying Monty was framed and you framed him pop up on his screen, as well as a bunch of pics of Monty. Someone is clearly messing with him. Clay starts writing his essay with the first line, "I covered up a murder," then continues, typing furiously. Episode 3, Valentine's Day. Love is in the air at Liberty High. JK, mostly despair is in the air as always, but it is Valentine's Day and there's a dance to celebrate, and newly installed security cameras in case anyone gets up to no good, sexual or otherwise. Ani wants to go to the dance, but Clay is distracted by anonymous calls he's been getting from Monty's number, tormenting him in a distorted voice. Clay suspects Winston is behind it at first. Whoever it is wants Clay to do exactly what they say or they'll go public with proof that Monty is innocent. At one point they call him, demand that he picks a fight and doesn't fight back. Clay has 5 minutes to do this, so provokes Zach into punching him in the stomach repeatedly. Later, after he gets his S together enough to ask Connie to the dance, someone sends him a picture of himself at that exact moment. He immediately calls the number back, following the sound of ringing to the wrong person. Clay now has no choice but to tell Ani what's been going on. He then gets another call. The caller knows he told Ani and tells Clay they can prove that she wasn't with him the night Bryce died. The callers tell Clay he can have Monty's phone and everything on it, all he has to do is go and get it from HO's headquarters. Of course, the phone Clay finds there isn't Monty's, and the callers tell him if he answers their call that night at the dance, he'll get Monty's phone. Elsewhere, in one happy moment, Winston wants to hang out with Alex for Valentine's Day and Alex is into it. They go bowling and Alex asks Winston to go to the dance with him, purely for social commentary purposes, but then kisses him, so maybe it's actually for romantic purposes. It's a cute moment, but messy considering Alex actually killed Bryce. This should be fun. It's time to dance. Here's how the lovely occasion shapes up. Jess, who desperately wanted to go, is a terrible date to Charlie after coercing him into going with her when she couldn't find anyone else. She ends up making out with Diego, a football player who she impressed when she made a "Don't Be D" head speech to the team. Tyler helps Tony with DJing, mostly because Tony is suspicious of him and wants to keep an eye on him. Zach gets wasted and makes out with a rando, while Alex and Winston just make out a lot. Justin doesn't go to the dance initially, choosing to attend an AA meeting instead, a new one his football coach also attends. When Justin shows up later, he tries to interrupt Jess dancing with Diego, but ultimately fails in coming between them. Back at the DJ booth, Tyler gets an urgent call and leaves in a hurry. Tony follows him outside, where he sees him get into the car with Alex's dad and drive off. In the car, Alex's dad tells a worried Tyler to hold on, soon his friends will all know it's for the best. On the dance floor, Clay and Ani are slow dancing when his phone rings. The caller has him leave the dance and go to the showers. Once there, whoever is on the other end of the call talks Clay through an imagined scenario where he's in prison showers, looks down and sees his own blood. When Clay looks in the locker room showers, he sees red paint, resembling blood, everywhere and a knife on the floor. Clay hastily turns on the water to clean it away and, in his mind, sees blood gushing out instead. As instructed, he then goes out to the football field, brandishing the knife, and sees Monty's bloody body lying in the middle of the field. Clay tries frantically to stop the bleeding, but since, in reality, it's just a CPR dummy, he can't do anything. The football team shows up and surrounds him. A highly distressed Clay points the knife at them and demands they hand over Monty's phone. The problem is, they all seem to have Monty's phone. Diego tells Clay they own him because anyone who freaks out like that over a prank is hiding something. Clay runs into the dance, covered in fake blood, holding a fake knife, and tells Ani he doesn't know what happened. Shocked, Ani tells him she can't fix this and runs off. Could it get much worse? Yep, the whole sorry affair is caught on the newly installed school cameras. Episode 4, Senior Camping Trip. Another episode intro, another funeral clip. At least we know it's not Charlie's because he's at it, making a speech. Praise be. Cookie's lives. Since the Valentine's Day dance fiasco, Clay and Diego have been suspended for 2 weeks and are now back at school in front of the council to find out if they'll still be allowed to go on the senior camping trip. Of course they get to go. Clay is anxious about this, suspecting the football team will try to mess with him some more. You see, every year they single someone out to scare during the camping trip with the help of any old local legend, the legend of Bunham, which basically tells the tale of a dead teen who roams the woods, terrorizing kids with an axe and making them pay for their sins. Or something like that. It's ancient history that took place a long time ago in the 80s, so who can say exactly? Anyway, before the gang leaves for the trip, they all receive an email sent from Clay's account, pretty much saying they can't keep this secret anymore and that they should come clean, or during the senior campfire, he will tell everyone what they did. Clay denies writing it, believing he was hacked, and the whole group is anxious, thinking one of them is about to spill everything to everyone. Okay, things are about to get really trippy. So, there's a treasure hunt as part of this fun excursion. They all have their phones taken off them, are partnered up and set off to follow clues to the prizes. Only, once they've all left, the chaperones, Alex's dad and Clay's mom, find the clues are still at camp. Classic jocks. Messing with the game. Everyone has been told to stick with their partner, so obviously that doesn't happen. Justin disappears and Clay runs off the path looking for him. Alex and Jess also get split up after she gets a handful of maggots. While he searches for Justin, Clay comes across a wolf and then someone grabs him and puts him in a well. Yup, you read that correctly. He has a panic attack, passes out and imagines a conversation with Monty. Insert humanizing Monty moment here. Justin and Charlie find each other and team up to try and find Clay. Meanwhile, the football team goes back for Clay and find he is not in the hole where they left him. Above them, they hear someone whisper yelling revenge, as Clay's voiceover tells us it'd be cool if someone messed with the football team instead. We told you things got trippy. Diego and the other players take shelter with Justin and Charlie in a creepy cabin and admit they messed with the clues, but now they think there's something else out there. Still alone in the woods, Jess hallucinates Bryce with a mouthful of cockroaches, but finally finds her way to where the others are huddling. The jocks think the ghost of Burnham Woods is out to get them all. Just then, someone drags an axe along the outside of the cabin and laughs creepily. Everyone is ing themselves at this point, but then Zach shows up and the jocks run out. Tony joins too and they all discuss how Winston can alibi Monty. They think maybe the email came from Winston, but then Tony suggests it might have come from Tyler. Jess points the finger at Ani, who isn't on the trip because she's visiting her mom who had a fall. Justin suggests trusting one another. Thankfully, Alex's dad shows up to take them back to camp. Death. Later, Alex tells Tyler that Winston was only their friend so he can find out who really killed Bryce, but when Tyler confronts Winston about it, Winston tells him he genuinely wanted to be his friend. Upset about Winston, Alex goes out on the lake in a boat with Zach to drink. Because Alex hasn't already been through enough in his life, he falls overboard, hits his head on the oar and passes out. Under the water, he imagines Bryce grabbing at him, but it's really just Zach pulling him out. They make it back to shore safely, but later Alex tells his dad he felt like he was being pulled down, like he couldn't breathe anymore, and that's what it must have been like for Bryce too. Alex feels so alone and can't keep carrying this secret. His dad tells him they all want the best for him, and they don't want him to throw his life away. Alex's dad believes his friends are good, smart kids and they did the right thing. Alex doesn't need how to live up to that. Back in the well, Clay wakes up with all the treasure from the hunt in bags around him and sees the symbol that was graffitied on the school wall, carved into the wall in front of him. Somehow, we don't see it happen, he gets out of the well and makes his way back to camp, announcing his arrival by blowing a horn and declaring he won the treasure hunt. He seems deranged and accuses Winston of working with the jocks, then Jessica of knowing Diego was going to F with him. About this, Winston comes to Clay's tent and asks him which one of his friends killed Bryce. Episode 5, House Party. One can only hope that the utter confusion this new season is serving us is intentional. After we see Clay return home from an angsty jog towards the site of Bryce's murder, we're told by a dialogue between Clay, Justin, and their parents that he has been jogging to a lot of Bryce's old haunts, and that Justin visited his old neighborhood. Those little scenes certainly didn't happen on camera. Anyhow, Clay's weirdness leads to the boys getting a random drug test, which leads to Clay testing positive, and blaming it on Justin switching their samples, again, not something the audience saw to confirm. While they get grounded, we slowly learn that all the parents in Evergreen seem to know a little too much about their children's social lives. Clay, Jessica, Tony, and Alex all agree that their privacy may be compromised, and so Clay coordinates a sting with Tyler's old goth buddies to spread the location and time of a party in a way that will let them know whether or not the parents are able to find out about it. While the rest of the students go to the party, Tony is recruited by the sheriff's office into a boxing league, with Tyler working in his corner as the cut guy. At the party, cast newbies Diego, Winston, and Estella all take part in a dedication to Monty that leaves Jessica on edge. As Tony wins the fight against a competitor that looks well out of his weight class, Clay meets and quickly loses his virginity to Sheriff Daughtry's daughter, a suspicious moment considering he had long been dating Ani, who infamously had multiple sex scenes with Bryce last season. Elsewhere at the party, Zach and Justin both strike out with their respective love interests. Turns out Chloe can't kiss Zach because she has a boyfriend, and Justin is drinking again now that Jessica has seemingly moved on from him, and his mom is back in his life, hence the visit to his old neighborhood. As Charlie and Alex build romantic tension in a private room, snacking on edibles and watching It's a Wonderful Life, Winston is going around the party telling Estella and Diego the truth about his romantic relationship with Monty. The party comes to a climax after Clay is approached by the boyfriend of Sheriff Daughtry's daughter, and proceeds to get into a bloody fight with him. There's a quick scene after showing Tony and Justin inexplicably running into each other on the street, only to catch Tyler giving money to a gun dealer, but the big finish is a drunk Clay and Zach driving an Audi convertible off a cliff. Marcus Jones. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching the video. Please like, comment, share and subscribe my channel.